So after about a year of daily use in my 9 to 5, I think I'm finally qualified to give a bit of an opinion on the Leatherman Fuse. It's actually a pretty good multi-tool. I'll give it 2 thumbs up. For me, it's just the right size, and it's got the right amount of functions in it. Of course, your use may vary from mine, but in my daily job, which involves some amount of electrical work and plenty of screws and things like that, nuts and bolts, this seems to really do the trick. Why don't I show some of the features just in case some of you out there may not be familiar. Of course, it's got pliers and wire cutters inside the pliers. It's got a knife blade, which I think was around 3 inches. Oh, yep, just right at 3 inches long. And let's see, got a nice wide flat blade screwdriver, a longer and smaller flat blade screwdriver, the lanyard or keyring hole. On this side, it's got a must-have, at least in my opinion, for a multi-tool, some scissors, and it's also got a nice Phillips screwdriver and your bottle opener / can opener, and I guess also which I haven't quite figured out how exactly it's supposed to work, so maybe someone out there can school me a little bit, but right here it's supposed to have, it calls this the wire stripper. I guess you can stick it in there and cut the wire insulation halfway through, but for some reason I haven't really gotten that to work very well. So I've been using most of these tools on a fairly regular basis, and they really do work pretty well. Probably my least used is the can opener / bottle opener, but I have used that to pry open gallon paint cans. Now on this Phillips screwdriver, I do use that quite a bit, and I think it's actually really good for a multi-tool. It seems to be just the right size for most screws. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's just about right. And also something else I think is important in a multi-tool, which is pretty common to most of the Leatherman and Gerbers, is that the Phillips and all the other screwdrivers for that matter stick out the end, which I think is a better arrangement and typically more useful than, like, say, your Swiss Army style, which comes out the side, because this width here sometimes will cause interference. This really allows you to get in deeper, and even if you need more clearance, you can stick it out like that, and then you've decreased half your width there. But this is actually pretty thick, and it seems pretty sturdy. You can put quite a bit of torque on it, and you don't have to worry about it breaking. Let's see, another thing, like I said, I think it's a must-have in a multi-tool is a pair of scissors. Now these, they kind of feel or seem a little flimsy, but they seem to be working fine. They haven't really caused any problems and are actually pretty good cutters. I mean, of course, piece of paper is no problem. Typically cardboard's not really a problem either. And a lot of times I'll use them to cut zip ties, which I could not find any, but I did find this little plastic pin cap, and you can see it goes through that really no problem. Ooh, that little part there is a little bit thicker, but those actually work pretty good. And let's see what else we got in here. This other side, of course, I mentioned the blade. You know, I don't really use this a whole lot. I usually have the blackout with me, so I pretty much use that for cutting. But you know, it's actually a good backup blade. It's got some decent length to it, and it's pretty, I guess you could say, short in this direction. So you know, it can get into some tight spots there. The flat blade screwdrivers, I do use those quite a bit as well. I probably find myself using the smaller one more than the wider one, but they do seem to work good. You kind of got to be careful using them as a pry bar. They will bend on you, but you know, I've been kind of careful about that. And then the lanyard ring, I really don't use that at all, but somebody might like to, so it's an option. I usually like to have this on me in my Night Eyes Pockets Plus holster, which I did a review on. You can click on the annotation and check that out if you want, but just sticks nicely inside there with my iPhone and my mag light. I think it came with a holster, but I haven't been able to find it here lately. I've never used it really, so I've kind of just kept it in this. Or another option, you know, of course you can keep it in a pocket, but I just wanted to show you that it does fit fairly nicely into the little coin pocket that most jeans come with. You know, that one pretty well almost covers it. Here's a pair of Dickies, or the pocket's a little bit shorter, so it sticks out a little more, but still it's not too bad. Still, you can have good access to it. How about some dimensions? I think this thing was just about 6 ounces. Yep, 5.9 on my scale. And it's like 4 inches long. I think it's like 1 inch and 3/16 wide. And the widest, or the, as far as the thickness is concerned, you've got your kind of your rivets that hold it all together. That's the thickest part, and it's right at maybe just over 3/8. I'm sorry, 5/8. So I think that's a pretty good size. Kind of the reason I decided to go with this, the Fuse, is that it's got enough capabilities built into it, while still maintaining a compact form. The model above this, which is the Leatherman Blast, it's got some extra functions in it, but I didn't really think I was going to need them all that much. It's got a saw and a file, I think, so I figured I probably didn't really need that. The one below it is the Kick, and it's got pretty much the same that this has, except for scissors. And like I mentioned earlier, in my opinion, you just got to have a pair of scissors on you. They just come in so handy. And also a nice feature of this versus some of the older Leathermans, they've got the Zytel inserts on the handle. So when you're using these pliers and really cranking down on them, it's actually pretty comfortable. It doesn't dig in your hand like my first one did years ago. Of course, it also has a ruler on it. If you stick it out like this, you get pretty much 8 inches on that side, and what is it, metric on this side, about 20 centimeters on this side. Not a lot, but it comes in handy sometimes. When I went to go buy this, I got it at Walmart, and originally I was wanting to get a Gerber, the kind where you can just flick it and the plier ends come out. I had a pair of those years ago, and I lost them somehow, and I really liked it, so I was going to try to get another one, but they didn't have any in stock, and I was kind of really needing something to time, so this seemed like the best other option. So I kind of like that quick access, quick one-handed access to the pliers, but actually this one you can kind of do, it's not near as cool, but you can kind of work it one-handed if you just kind of split it apart, and you can flick it and then press it down on something, either your bench or your leg, and you can deploy it and put it back together one-handed. So you can make it work. All of these tools do seem to be quite strongly locked into position once you fully extend them. They've all got this release tab that you have to press down to release them, but they snap in place tight and they won't budge, and I have had zero problems with something coming accidentally unlocked in the time I've used it. Every once in a while, when I'm trying to stick this back into my Night Eye's little holster here, I'll stick this end down, and one of the lock tabs will maybe catch a little bit, but it's really not that big of a problem. So whether you're looking for a daily workhorse or just an emergency backup toolkit, I think for 30 or 40 bucks the Leatherman Fuse is a pretty good choice. 2 thumbs up from me. Thanks for watching, and stay prepared.